are going to talk about let's build and publish our own React component library. So since a long time, probably we just were consuming the components, we were using the libraries as a developer, right? Most of the time, for example, we are using Tailwind or Material UI or different components from the other external sources, right? But now it's the time to flip the stuff and let us build our own component library, or essentially something a developer product, so we can understand what goes behind when we are building some scaled product, when which is going to be probably used by a lot of people, lot of users. Especially in this our case, it is going to be used by a lot of developers, so we need to take care about lot of things. So that is what we are going to discuss today. So before we start, what is going to be talked about today? What are we going to talk? So we are going to discuss about design systems, why we need them, when we don't need them, how can we implement them. Same goes for what is Storybook, what problems does it solve, and how to use it. And Rollup, which is the model bundler, we'll be touching the basics part of it, and why do we need it, and how to use Rollup. And then we are going to do some interesting stuff. We are going to do open source talking, which I tell that since we are building a product, we need to actually see the perspective of product research as well, the product manager side of the thing, because we are not building a project for a resume, right? Our aim after this talk, which I'm expecting, that we should try out at least to build some product, some library, or even a project that can be actually you can share with your friend or the fellow developer that hey, use this. And so to make that kind of thing, we are going to also take some tips from the experts who have already done great stuff and are doing great stuff in this particular domain, right? So let's get started without any delay. So a bit about me. So I'm a full stack developer, Neo grad. I have learned full stack development from around 6 months from Neoji Camp cohort. So yeah, I have been totally amazed by how community and the learning process goes from making just a small HTML and not understanding the behind the scene parts to actually a full stack development where I can actually make some products for the users. And yeah, so that part. I have also interned at Quico, where it was amazing experience there, where it was a fintech startup, and totally amazed by the work culture we had there in India. So I also contribute to open source very regularly. I love it. I do it as a hobby kind of, and also I'm maintaining Rotten scripts with an aim to make open source a cakewalk for everyone, with an aim to basically make it as a trend that today a lot of people are just doing AIML just for the cool stuff. So why not open source can be that cool, right? So interesting, right? So that is my aim, and yeah, I'm doing that as my hobby. So I've also been mentored a lot of students and new developers in the Girlship Summer of Code. And yeah, apart from that, I love Cosmos, philosophy, and obviously memes. Who doesn't like that? So I go by one simple principle: if you can't meme it, you don't understand it, right? So yeah, before moving ahead, so let me present you one small but very good principle. When we are learning something new, probably you might know how to make a React component library, but if you don't, we are actually coming to something new. So how should we process this particular part? So we should know what we are doing. So that brings curiosity, because if we explore what we are doing, what we are building, what skill we are learning, so we get the curiosity. Then we do the why part, that why do I need this, why do I want to learn this. And then if these two are clear, then it's very easy to figure out the how part, because that for that you have the whole motivation because of your whats and whys. So yeah, so are you excited for this talk? Because I am a lot. So let us first start with design systems. So the what are design systems? So it is basically a collection of reusable components which are being assembled together to build any number of application. Uh, Some popular design systems are, yeah, wait for a second. Yeah, sorry, my video was not there. Yeah, just remembered. So where were we? Yeah, so some popular design systems are Atlassian design system, the Material design system, which we all know, that is by Google, Carbon design system, which is by IBM, Lightning design system is by Salesforce, and Polaris is by Shopify. So these design systems were actually made by these big organizations to have a very structured way of design principles in their application, their multiple paradigms where they are going to ship these particular designs or products to the users. So what does it consist of? So it has brand, basically the icons, logos, colors, themes, and etc. stuff which are specific to the company's or the organization's theme. Also, we have the design principles and the patterns, the design guidelines and the tools which are probably given by the designers, or even the product managers, and the product team is a lot much involved when it comes to design, because today the design has become one of the very important aspect of uh, product. Because the thing is that the if you are building Instagram, you need to take care about a lot of things, especially the user drop off ratio, even in any website. And you guys know the stats, right? How much it's difficult to have that attractive thing. So that's why we definitely need a design system. And of course the documentation, if you are building any good project or a product, documentation is needed, but that is sometimes very overwhelming and takes a lot of time. So design systems, the why, we already discussed some whys in the previous slide, but also let me quickly tell that agile development is a trend these days, that every time when you are building some startup especially, then there will be a multiple changes coming to your way from the designers and or the main CEO or the that end, right? The core team might tell you that okay, you need to change this. So how we are going to tackle that problem, that is the thing, right? So the platforms are expanding, so probably today you have just an e-commerce website, but probably tomorrow you need some more sorts of side projects that you might want to experiment and test. For example, in the previous talk, we just saw that for Avalon, they started Avalon Meta, which was basically an educational product. Then they started Scenes. So you might have noticed that both of the apps actually look similar. So this is the design system, right? This is the theme which they have given the users, and the users have got into that mood of that design. So if we want to implement this, we need centralized knowledge base, basically, because if there are this scattered, then it might create a mess, and most of the time we'll be going into fixing those bugs instead of focusing on the business logic. So the component reusability is very important, which design systems provide, and more clarity and better collaboration. So yeah, this is kind of what summarizes the why of a design system. A developer and designer can never be friends, because designers just tell what to do, and we developers have to change 100 parts for a same lying of button, right? So yeah, design systems, the how. So how we're going to achieve that? So developers are served with design patterns, principle, and all the design that are needed from the designers and product managers, and then uh, we coders have to convert that to reality. So if we have, for example, say Amazon, it has AWS, it has Kindle, it has Amazon, the e-commerce. Everywhere it has to use the same design, same components. So why to make write the same CSS every time, multiple times? So that is dumb, right? So for that, we need to do something like to set up a central UI store that can store all the components and can be a single source of truth. So then we choose our framework. So yeah, first thing, let me tell you that there is no bias towards framework. You can choose Vue, you can choose Angular, or you can choose React. It's pretty much all are same. Just kidding, use React, right? And then you can use component libraries which we are going to build today. So CSS styling approaches, and these are CSS styling approach. I mean that probably you might want to use CSS modules, or you might want to use style components or internal Sass or less and stuff like that. So yeah, we discussed this thing. What about documentation? If there is a major change in the design pattern coming, how we are going to reflect to it. So we'll be looking into this in a minute. Yeah, so we are introducing Storybook for solving these problems. So Storybook is what it is actually giving the developer side of the solution of this particular problem which we just saw. So we need a design system, but how we are going to implement that, right? So for example, let me just tell you that for any React project that you build, you have components in your components folder. Say you have a button and you want to test it, how it is behaving, its accessibility and stuff. So what you do is just randomly put the component anywhere in your app.js or some file, and then see if it is working properly or not. And as a developer, you are more into deadlines and stuff, so that is majorly going to be tested by the designer when he or she looks at the final product or the final page at the end of the day you give, or after end of a feature you provide, and designer looks at that thing after you have built the whole that particular feature, and designer looks at that. So that is not a good way to build components. Obviously when you are doing small websites or small application, it's fine, but when you're doing something large, when the designers also have to check on a lot of things, because the user base is going to be very high. So the designers probably would check on accessibility, would check on multiple extra edge cases. They would do manual testing on the UI and stuff. UX is a different thing, but at least for UI they are going to do this. And also like Storybook also provides some UX help also, so we will be looking into that. But yeah, so it makes super easy for handling different states. User stories by mean that on click this should happen, on hover this should happen. Yeah, so for colors and stuff. So this becomes very easy if we have something that can store all of our components, document them, and when you make a change into your code base, it is not just changing into your application but also reflecting on the Storybook, which is going to be probably we are going to share that Storybook or the component bundle to a designer or a product manager, and they can directly check the list of components and they can do it. So probably you might not getting exactly what I'm telling, right? So let us quickly go and see one nice thing which I found. See, this is Audi's Storybook. So this is what a typical Storybook looks like. So say you are coding for Audi, the Audi car company. See the logo of them, and they have made the whole design system on Storybook. So Storybook gives you this amazing feature to document stuff using .md. So they have listed all the style guides, roadmap, getting started stuff like for designer installation and stuff. So let us look at the component. There are multiple things, but you might be interested. Check out later. So see, there are a lot of details given based on accessibility, variation and stuff, but all the stories are here. So see, this is what it is, accordion. So when you click on that, it should open. So how easy it becomes for a designer to actually test these components. And since these components are actually reflecting upon our main code base, then if designer suggests some changes in here and developer fixes it, it fixes on both the ends. So this is a very frictionless thing which happens. So yeah, this is a quick overview of what I was telling about Storybook. So it has a lot of stuff. So you can definitely see, for example, you want to see for a smaller size, for responsiveness, if you want to see for a very large size, and probably this shows that what is the background. So probably if you have some navbar in black, so you can also check all the edge cases. But if we are doing directly in our web app, this won't be that easy, as well as we might miss out on a lot of uh, edge cases, right? So let us get back to it. Okay, so yeah, so Storybook is used by literally everyone, and as I said, it has almost became a monopoly in its game. There is no one like Storybook at present. So yeah, these are the companies that are using it, and these are the big names. But literally, almost all open source projects they have who have the design in mind, they are using Storybook to leverage their work. So everywhere I go, I see his face. Yeah, so yeah, talk is cheap. Show me the code. So let us quickly see our code base and understand how simple Storybook has made for us to write and implement this thing. I remember in the previous talk, Sanket told that basically it should not be wordy. The lines of the code should not be a lot so that the developer is overwhelmed. And yeah, probably Storybook after its every update, it is keeping in mind these points that they are giving a beautiful developer experience. So yeah, so let me give you a very quick overview about the file structure. It is very simple. We are going to build a very simple a React component library, no fancy, just demonstrate. We are just seeing the process, how we actually, if you want to build, how we are going to build. But yeah, this is not what you might want to exactly build. You will definitely look into more amazing stuff. Yeah. So, so see, we have two components in our component library, an alert and a button, right? These are being exported from here uh, from the index.js. We will talk about why we are exporting it from here, and index.js is not having anything. So this is not create React app, right? Because we are going to ship our library to someone, so for them to use. So this is not a React web application. Create React app basically bundles our code and does the transpilation and serves it to the web. So that's why we have index.js. In that we have it is serving the app.js, right? So but in this we just have to export it, and this is being imported. The button is going to be imported, and the alert component is going to be imported on the client side, right? So so you can see alert is this, and you can see the component. This is like nothing huge. So let me zoom out a bit. Yeah. So alert variants, we have simple alert and a dismissible. So if dismissible, if it is false, then we basically render this simple alert, and if it is dismissible is true, that is being passed by the user as a prop, we are just destructuring them here, then it will be taking this component, and we have the basically the CSS styles also here, and that is coming from this CSS. I guess probably we might not want to look into exactly the CSS because this is not it is what about. But yeah, I also want to add that it's not limited that we just have to use pure CSS. We can also use Tailwind and basically import it as a dependency and make some changes in our configuration, and we can definitely use Tailwind and build these library on top of Tailwind. So see, this scenario is something like your organization is want to have a design system, but they are obviously not gonna the developers are not gonna be using the pure CSS. We want to use libraries. So that is why what we do. This is more of something for our use, for not for the open source. So these libraries or design system are not necessarily open source or made for the user. They are primarily built for the organization. So it highly depends on your implementation. If you want to build for the community, then it's amazing. So yeah, so we basically can also do Tailwind, Material UI, and all of the libraries. We can build our library on top of that. So that is also possible, but you might need to explore and explore the how of it. Yeah. So we have this is now in getting interesting, right? So we have .stories.js file for having our stories, uh, for having the story of alert, we need to make, we are making here two stories, simple alert and dismissible alert, which are probably by intuition we can understand that there are two types of alerts which we have in our which basically the component is. And so for that we are building stories. So what a typical story is like, it has the metadata which is being exported and it is taking component. So instead of directly showing the code, let me run the storybook. So when you install storybook is installed by npx sb init, it is very convenient way to do that. And by the way, feel free to check out the documentation, because documentation is where everything lies, and it's amazing documentation, and the community is also really cool. So yeah, so let us do yarn storybook. It is the command which storybook provides to actually run our storybook. By the way, storybook runs on the webpack. Okay, I am already running on, yeah, so I'm already running storybook, so let us directly use that. Let's see, localhost 6000 is where our storybook will be. 6006, sorry. Yeah, so we have alert, and see, you can see different alerts. So you just can clearly see that, see, this is the path we have provided, UI slash alert slash dismissible. So and what component we are providing, we are providing alerts, and these are the things which we are telling that, hey storybook, that you can render the exports which I am exporting from alert.stories.js, precisely the dismissible alert.stories.js, and this will be coming into dismissible section. And if we are for simple alert, we have almost the same thing. We don't want archetypes, because let's not make it confusing for people who are starting out with storybook. So that is also we will be looking into in just a moment. And yeah, so basically we are exporting these things, and it is very simple. And this is the path we are providing, UI slash alert slash simple. So this is the folder structure which it makes, UI slash alert slash dismissible, UI slash alert slash simple, and it's simple, right? And button. So same thing goes for button. I think it will be getting redundant if I stress more upon this. So yeah, but button has, I've actually added some stuff, cool stuff to the button with actions that is taking handles as clicked. So let us see our button. So we have a lot of different states of a button, and button is basically of two kinds, border and filled. So default button, we have primary button. So if the theme of my library or my project is basically having the primary button as purplish and secondary as something like pink, so I might want to do this. So we just saw that we had handles clicked. So basically when it is clicked, something should happen. So what is something? This is actions, so that is happening. So when I click on this, um, let's see. Yeah, it was click. So when I click on this, it is going to be triggering an action, so it actually shows that it is clicked. So this might be useful for debugging, as the, this is very simple example, but probably if we have a model and we have cross button show, so if you want to handle that particular part, we also can do it. And also I find this particular part very exciting, accessibility check directly in the storybook. So for example, let's see if we, everything is accessible. So they are saying that 4 passes, accessible passes, these components are good, but yeah, it shows that one violation. So what is the violation? It also tells that the foreground and background colors are not meeting the contrast threshold. So this is what it tells that uh, about this. So probably as a developer, I don't care, but the designers definitely care. So they will be telling me to change the color, bro. So I will be doing that. Yeah, so this is how the storybook works. We have a lot of things, feel free to explore, but now let's get back to our, So essential pointers which I would like to mention in Storybook, we have .storybook file folder, and in that we have main.js, preview.js, and manager.js. It controls the behavior of Storybook server main.js. Preview.js file is controlling how stories are being rendered, and manager is controlling the behavior of UI part of the Storybook. So what I mean by that, I will be coming that in a second. But we just saw the story parameters, but decorators, loaders, naming hierarchy, the things which you might want to discover, explore. Writing docs with MDX is a thing which we saw in the Audi thing, right? We saw how they beautifully wrote the things with the markdown format. So that is also possible with Storybook, but they are constantly improving that part. So it makes it very simple, and probably it will gonna be the next Docusaurus for documenting your component libraries at least. So because previously in the previous version of Storybook, it was not that much trivial to choose Storybook as the total documentation solution, but these days they are providing very much good abstractions for us to use it. Publish Storybook is also a great thing if you want to share this thing which with your team and everyone to check out the design system. You can publish it and deploy it to GitHub pages or Chromatic, which is being officially provided by Storybook. And also Netlify and Vercel are gracefully supported. And we have a lot of add-ons for accessibility, story shorts and stuff. So I guess this was a lot of much exciting for you guys to see, and I definitely would love if you can explore more upon this. So let us see this small thing, which we kind of have to look at. So see, I don't have manager.js, right? Because see, at this particular moment, I'm thinking more on building the components and less thinking about changing this theme and the icon and stuff. So right now I'm not implemented, but you just saw that these Audi has a very good the themes and stuff is very nice, and it actually gives the fonts and everything are it gives a custom look. So this is the thing which is being handled by manager.js config file, so which we have not added in our project yet, but it's very easy to add, so not a big deal. But and what is else, we have main.js. So what we just saw, what main.js does is controls the behavior of Storybook server. So since it is controlling the behavior of Storybook server, it also means that if I want to configure something like Chakra UI or Tailwind CSS or something like Material UI to my Storybook, I need to change here because this is what is being rendered. And so probably, I need to change in preview.js. My bad. For main.js, whenever we can add add-ons, we can add. We just have these .mdx files, and it also accepts these extensions. So it identifies how. So by this particular thing, and for add-ons, it adds this. And yeah, as I told that if you want to do something more complex, you can do it here. So here we are just having these actions and archives regex, which is being accepting these things. So this is what probably you might need to look more into detail, but yeah. So now what we have done till now is we have set up a very good design system. We have also added some components which we generally do for a React apps, but now it is the time to add something like rollup or a bundler or anything that can be bundle our code and then serve it to the user, and user might use it in any place. But the thing is that you can just observe here in alert.js. The thing is that we have written it in the modern ES6 format, and which is also a very good thing because it makes our apps future proof, because it is the latest syntax, and it is very good way to write our code that is clean and manageable. So for modular code, it passes all the text, but the browser doesn't understand. So that is our problem, right? So for that, we need to basically transpile this ES6 to ES5 or below. So we use Babel for that. But now again, it is a problem that we have CSS files and browser doesn't understand that either. So we need to bundle all of these things essentially. To long story short, we need to bundle everything, every component into one single file, and that is to be served directly to the end user, and end user directly can import every component from that one big file. So that is what Rollup does for us. And Rollup is very popular choice for module bundling, but it is not the only choice. It highly depends on your implementation, on your research and your application, what bundler you should use. There is a lot much new bundlers coming in the community, but yeah, the fundamentals remains probably the same. So Webpack is the thing which is ruling for a long time, and today also Webpack is used at a lot of places. So we are just touching this basic concept, but feel free to explore more into depth of it. Yeah, so Rollup basically does it is ESM focus, and so we do that static import export syntax. It handles the bundling really well, and we, gives us a various features like tree shaking and flat bundling. By this I mean that if you know that previously in Node.js we used to write CommonJS syntax, and that was basically using var axios equals to require axios, right? So that require keyword is not a syntax, it is a function, right? So but with the ES6 features, we have import export syntax. It is basically just a syntax and not a function. So browser before even, sorry, the module before even running that file dynamically, it can statically know what is being imported and exported. So this is the thing which Rollup gets the hold of and does bundling really well. So its size, minified size is really great. So the why, we just discussed that browsers don't understand this thing. So by the least, we just need to transpile the code to browser to understand. And you might also know that Babel is being used to do that, and it is widely used in almost all the React based applications. So yeah, this is something. You are such a dumb animal, and so browser, I don't know. uh, yeah, so basically they don't understand the ES6 syntax. Probably it would have been great if they did, but we have bundles for it. Yeah. So yeah, the how, right? So we are going to quickly go to our code, but let us first understand what stuff we have to do for making this bundling process a lot much meaningful. So we have to transpile our modern ES6 code. So we can use Babel's own config, but we are not going to do that because Rollup gives us its own plugin for that, and that handles that for us. We are also want to make the Rollup aware about the third-party dependencies in the node model. If you are importing stuff or something like that, we need to do node resolve, and then we don't want redundant peer dependencies from the bundler. For example, your bundler is having React and React DOM as peer dependencies, and on the in the in somewhere else also there are the same thing. So we need to exclude these things. That is why we use this plugin. And yeah, so to import and handle CSS, we use the Rollup plugin post CSS for this particular thing. And to minify our code, so basically we write our code just as we have a lot of spaces and stuff, but browser doesn't care about those things. So we can minify that also. So we'll be looking that also as well. So let us go to the code. So we are going to have a quick look at the Babel, Rollup config. So these are the things which we just discussed that we need to see, and we are going to use it. So Rollup config is really better than Webpack, and probably that is why people also tell that they are liking Rollup. So we are having input from the index.js. So index.js is being taken as an input, and what we are essentially doing is outputting some stuff from that input. So output is going to be the bundle which Rollup is going to do based on the plugins that we are providing. So it will take care about those things as well. So from the file we are taking, we are putting these, putting the index.js into dist folder, which is a popular kind of practice to use a dist folder and put our bundled build ready code there. So the format is common.js, and you are also exporting a file to dist folder, that is index.es.js, and the format is es, and exports are named because we have exports, and we are doing there. So yeah, this is the thing about input and output. But yeah, but Rollup has also very good documentation in the community around, and they're coming up with really new solutions to the bundling. So do check out the community. I guess they have on Slack probably. Yeah. So the plugins that Rollup we just discussed is post css plugin, and we want to minify it. There are a couple of more parameters, but it is kind of out of scope to discuss that. And yeah, we want to do the babel transpilation, so we passed in the preset, and we obviously don't want the node module to be transpiled because we are not using them um, for the shipping our product there, because we are just caring about the components, right? So yeah, and these three are the we don't want any peer dependencies. We want to resolve node modules. See, this is coming from here, and yeah, that is pretty much of it. But these configs are, we will be looking into this in a second, how the big open source libraries are using that. But I hope that was not overwhelming. But if it is, don't worry if you don't understand. These are the things directly you can take these things from the documentation, and I've also done that only, but with understanding part. So yeah. So we are going, let us look at some open source component libraries quickly and see what are they doing. So see, this is what I and you know right till now, that if I want to make a React component library, I have done almost all the things, starting from making components to documenting and design system thing to them. And now I am also going to publish them. But what are the open source libraries doing? And basically, if I'm aiming to make a large project, if I'm aiming to scale the project, I need to take inspirations from them, right? So that is what we are going to do. Let us try to understand the code. So it not just helps us to make our own, but also open source product stocking helps us to understand how the whole thing works. So let us do that. First is Carbon, right? So I just forgot to mention one thing. Yeah. So whenever we are building our bundle, we are using this build command, which is being defined in the scripts of the Rollup. Also, we have these two things, main and module. So what are these? I'm quickly explaining. See, when we are going to publish this to npm, which we are going to do in just a few minutes. So when we are going to publish it, how uh, the our end application would know that what file it has to take. So else it will be taking the whole folder, and we have to do // and where it lies. But instead we can do define that, hey, the main folder or the main file that you have to consume the components from is index.js. So whenever I do something like when I do something like import button from the library name, I need to, I should get the button. So what is the main file it is referring to? So it is index.js, and we are also defining if it is using ES6 module syntax, then take this index.es.js. So probably for React components, you might not need any CJS file, but it highly depends on how you think. I think that if we want to put it to a CDN or something, then I need one file to be uh, used directly, and it might not be used in ES6 kind of environment. Yeah, so you can see there are a lot of things. We don't have any dependencies, but probably, as I said, that if you have styled components, you might put it into peer dependency or even dependency as well. So we just realized that if we want to do the build, we have to look into um, package.json. So let us find where is the package.json. So we have found out the package.json of Carbon, which is by IBM, the Carbon design system. And let us go to package.json. And we are having a lot much big file. But we don't need to understand or see everything. We just need to see where they are actually building it. So you can see build. Okay, they are doing something in Lerna. So what is Lerna? So to explain that, I will come that. Yeah. So what is Lerna? So for that, you need to see the code structure. So see, there are no components or SRC file which we have encountered on Carbon data system. Carbon design system. We have packages, and packages are basically the npm packages, and they are a lot of packages. And but let us go into the React part where there will be React components, and yeah, here we are. This is what we are building, right? From our own component library. This is Carbon, and this is what we just exported a component from. Right. So we can now look at the SRC. Their whole implementation is now in your hands. You can read and understand how and what best practices they are using and implement in your own library. So the product research is very essential. And here, if you are going to see, there is a rollup.config.js, but they are also having webpack.config.js, which is a bit confusing, but uh, they might be doing for something else. But we can when we open rollup, we can find a lot of similarities like Babel or Node Resolve, which are being used by these people. So yeah, that is how we can see. And Lerna is something that uh, that actually helps us to when we are going to release this particular package, we are going to do Lerna build. So it will basically publish all of the packages inside this package directory. So yeah, that is the whole idea. It is having Lerna. So yeah, so we just saw like Carbon design system does nothing like super out of the box. So if we spend some more time, we can actually understand. So now React Bootstrap does something a bit different. You can see they are having, they are having, they are basically running node tools/build.js. Now this is a different approach. We just saw that we were doing rollup dash config, in that we were putting everything, but they are doing something else. So let us go into tools, and we have this build.js which is being run right now. They have written the whole code and the scripts how to actually run and bundle our whole code, but essentially they are also doing the similar stuff. So now this is native base. So native base is React Native plus React uh, uh, library, component library. So it has a babel.config.js file. So you can see, and again we must go to packet.json, and here if we go to there is scripts. So they have build web, so it is using rollup config. So this is what we were just talking about. So native base is also using rollup, so which is pretty good, that we just saw. And see, now again you can see the code structure. You can understand that since we have packages, there should be a Lerna. So yeah, we have Lerna, but definitely explore this. I find this pretty amazing. And yeah, so what we are essentially doing is, this is Yarn workspaces. So let me give a very short thing about Yarn Workspaces. It's basically we are having a lot of packages inside one big package. So this is a mono repo which is storing a lot of packages, and these packages are interdependent. So for example, there's a package name icons and there's a package name component for a button. So in button, if you want an icon, so they are interdependent. So this makes much more sense to put them in one repo so they can use their components internal basis, and they are published kind of uh, directly as a package. So yeah, so these are the packages which Chakra does, and this is very interesting that they have published each component as a package. So you can also install each component directly from npm rather than installing the whole Chakra UI. So this probably would help if you just wanted alert. So why would you take the whole Chakra UI and do that? This is what you might also can consider while building your component library, right? So this is material UI. So you can also explore this, right? So yeah, we are almost at the final discussion of our talk, and probably I took some more time. uh, yeah, so this is the final thing. I actually connected with, so before this talk, I wanted this talk to be giving the value to you and everyone, since we are building our component library. But we should not just be, it should be a side project, but so for insights we need some tips or things from the experts. So I connected with all the experts, and big shout out to these people from the community. They are really cool and helping. Yeah, so from Kushagra, he is the creator of CSS Battle and Hint CSS. So I'm quoting it, what he tells about when I asked about open source and product development. So in context of component library, he says that if you're building a component library, make sure that you add all the must-have components to it before even thinking to add some out-of-the-box features. Also, to get good contribution to the project, the ultimate hack is by making the product that people love to use. And if they use it, they are more likely to contribute. And that is why keep trying different stuff and even fail. You never know when will your side hustle might shine up. So I also connected with Johnny Berger. He is the creator of Remotion Dev. So this is a pretty good React library that helps you build videos programmatically. So it is having amazing community. You can definitely try to contribute. It's really great being there. So he told me that even before you start coding, think about the scope of your library, what it will include and what not. Abstractions, but not even too much that user loses control over the library. Consider bundles, bundle size, upgradability, best practices, etc. Listen to product feedbacks and also try not to please everybody. Keep vision of your product in mind. And yes, being on a lot on Twitter is definitely a good idea. So yeah, Twitter is the hack, right? So Shalk, he is the core maintainer of MDN web docs. So he tells that document and keep the README up to date and clearly mention the intent of the project. Not just that, but also mention what this project is not, what it does not, and so limiting the scope. Be clear with instructions and starters, and most importantly, be kind and transparent. And yeah, he is one of the most kind people I have met on open source. He really he is very helping to the contributors to contribute to MDN. So yeah, and we have Sanket Sahu from Geeky Ants, and he is a creator of Native Base, the library which we just saw, right? So he told that for open source, every open source project solves a problem that reappears in different projects. I treat it like a startup. So yeah, if you're building some library, you are actually running a startup. So look into that perspective also. So I try to look at the problem that is generic enough so that it can impact the wider impact of developers, public work, showcasing on different platforms a lot much credibility, and makes you responsible and serious about your project. Building a Discord community, being active on Twitter helps a lot. And don't hesitate to ask for help from the people of the community. And yeah, we have Tanay Pratap. He is the senior software engineer at Microsoft and the creator of India's biggest programming community. And just a small but a very powerful quote, which I personally feel that don't think what a community can do for you. Think what you can do for the community. So this is so much powerful thing that if you see in a way that if you are building a library and if you expect that everyone should contribute, don't think about that. What community is it doing for you? But think about how you can impact a lot much people by your own code. And this is what is really amazing. And if you give back community. So yeah, so what case Tara Library, and special thanks to Neojicamp and Tanay for amazing mentorship in the community and helping me learn fascinating stuff about full stack development and eventually making me fall in love with it. So before we just end, let us finally publish our library, right, on NPM. So so we are going to do yarn build. We just saw, right. So I have named this library Chlorine UI, and this is the since we have made a lot of changes, we should make it 1.1.0. So we just like I have just named it Chlorine UI because since it is a React component library, there should be something to neutralize it, right? So yeah, let us do yarn build, which is the command that runs the rollup config. And when we do rollup, it's gonna build, right? So this dist folder is being created, which will be served, and just by running npm publish, it should publish our version of the Chlorine UI. Okay, so it is giving me an error. Gonna publish previously published versions. Okay, so let us do something like one, because I probably didn't save, I guess. So yeah, so it's up and running now. You can definitely use this in your library, and this was this simple. So I personally believe that the coding part is not a problem most of the time. Most of the time is the vision and how you make your own product and stuff. So yeah, so that's most the part about it. So thank you.